Hey everyone, welcome to today's lesson. My name is Wes. This channel is called Interactive English, and it's really just all about helping you practice and improve your English skills. We try to do a little bit of everything. And if this is your first time, please write to me in the comments. Tell me your name, tell me where you're from. Love hearing from new people. And even now, if you're joining me live, you can write your name, where you're from in the chat. It's also great to see so many familiar faces. Today, because I will give some shout outs as we go through the lesson. Today is more of a vocabulary lesson because what we're going to talk about, confusing words in English. And as you can see, it says it is a quiz lesson. So I'm going to give you some different sentences with some confusing words. And I'm just going to have you choose which word best completes the sentence. So it's really testing your knowledge on the vocabulary that you may already know, which is great practice. But before we jump in and begin, just want to say a quick hello. Angela, Yasser, welcome. Lali, great to see you again. Takayo, hi, how are you? Suhana, Amit, Nun, Kushnik, hello from India, excellent. Maria Teresa, good to see you again, excellent. And I keep saying it, excellent, excellent. I'm so happy to see all of you guys today. So we're going to go through this, and I'll give you an opportunity to practice and tell me which word you think best completes the sentence. Of course, I will then tell you what the answer is and talk to you about a little bit about the difference between these words. So it's a good way to build your vocabulary, but also your overall fluency, because these are words that learners may confuse from time to time. To be quite honest, I think there are even native speakers that confuse these words as well. So let's go ahead and begin with the first question that I have for you. We're talking about these two words, borrow and lend. And if you are an avid fan of interactive English, you should recognize many of these words because I've actually done lessons in the past talking about some of these words. I actually did an entire lesson, I think, on borrow and lend a long time ago. So the sentence, he refused to me some money because I didn't pay him back last time. Which of those words would you use to complete that sentence? Trying to think about the difference between borrow and lend. Excellent. Yes, Jerry, Ayufum, Amit, Takayo, Sarah, Lali, great job. Gahad. The correct answer is lend. So a quick way just to think about the difference. When you borrow something, you're taking it. When you lend it, you're giving it. And notice those actions. I try to associate it with borrow, you're taking, lending, you are giving. So in this case, we're talking about somebody else refused to give me, lend me some money because I didn't pay him back last time. And yes, if you don't pay somebody back, probably that person may not lend you money in the future. That is true. So hopefully that one probably was a little easier. I think difference between borrow and lend. But great job. So many correct answers. Excellent. Gustav, good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. Let's look at the next one. All right. So some of them will be easier. Some of them will be a little more difficult. So here we're talking about the phrase every day, 2 words, versus the single word every day. So again, the pronunciation is exactly the same. The only difference is that one is the phrase, 2 words every day, and then the other one every day. And this is something that I think people will really confuse, mostly with writing, because the pronunciation's the same. If you are saying it, you're speaking, no, you're not going to know whether you're talking about the one with 2 words or just the 1 word. So this is really useful, I think, for your writing, if you're writing an email or even something for work or school. This is something I always say to you guys. Try to study English a little bit, each and What do you think? Which one would you use to complete the sentence. Awesome, excellent. So many answers. You guys are boom, just on this today, right? Very quick. Yes, Sevde, Yasher, Adriana, Lolly, Angela, Lavinia. We're talking, Gustav, perfect. We're talking about the phrase every day, 2 words. Try to study English a little bit each and every day. So hopefully it makes sense. The phrase every day, 2 words, it really just means each day. It's something that's going to happen every day. Every day is 1 word. It's an adjective, and typically it's going to come before a noun. Like we have to do some everyday chores. All right, those are chores you have to do every day. But when we put it in front of the noun, everyday chores, then use it as an adjective, then we're going to use every day 1 word. Most of the time, I think people use it, they're talking about the phrase every day. And notice each and every, that is a binomial pair. Those are phrases that are used informally, but they're connected with that conjunction, like short and sweet. Something is wine and dine. Each and every is another binomial pair, in this case, each and every day. So hopefully you guys rocked that one, so maybe that was a little easier. This one, I suspect, may be a little more difficult because, well, first off, because I think these words are sometimes, they're used interchangeably. There is a slight difference between them, but they may be used interchangeably. A lot of times I think people will use sympathize. I think that word is more commonly used. So in the example sentence that I gave you, she couldn't with my situation because she had never been in my shoes before. Okay, which word best completes that sentence? Sympathize or empathize? And again, I will tell you the difference between these, even though I think they are often sometimes used interchangeably. If you're just joining us, we are doing, it's kind of a vocabulary quiz with these confusing words. So she couldn't with my situation because she had never been in my shoes. I tried to kind of give you a hint with that last part, which is an idiom. To be in one's shoes, it's almost like then you're saying that you understand what their situation is like, what their life is like. And people might say something like, well, try to put yourself in my shoes. And then they're telling somebody like, look, try to understand my situation. So, wow, you guys really did well. Musa, Raha, Maria Teresa, excellent. Angela, Sajad, Diana, Rita. We're talking about the empathize. All right. And that's really the last part of that was the clue. She couldn't empathize with my situation because she had never been in my shoes. So I told you that I think some people will use them interchangeably. The slight difference is to sympathize. Both of them are verbs. You could use them as nouns as well, sympathy and empathy. But to sympathize is you understand the feelings of another. That you understand, like, oh, they're upset, like I feel bad for this person, and you sympathize with them. To empathize, it's you have experienced this thing. So if you're able to empathize with somebody that you understand because you have gone through the same thing, you have gone through the same experience, and you can empathize with somebody's situation. So in this case, I said she couldn't empathize with my situation. She had never been in my shoes, that she had never experienced the same thing. So that is the slight difference between these 2 words. But Lolly, it's okay. Don't worry. I know you got it wrong. It's okay. It happens from time to time. But that's a slight difference. So it's good to know the subtle differences between some of these 2 words, that you sympathize, you understand that this person may be struggling, going through a difficult time. Empathize, it's when you have experienced this same thing. Let's look at this next one, okay? Also, maybe this one might be a little more challenging. Imply versus infer. In this case, again, both of them are verbs, to imply or to infer. Which one would best complete this sentence right here? So it says, based on the latest statistics, we can that the new policy is working. All right? Based on the latest statistics, we can that the new policy is working. Which of those words? Again, they're commonly confused, mostly because they're not really spelled the same, but wow, you guys are on top of your game today. All right, I will tell you that. Maybe I told you because I've talked about all of these confusing words before in previous lessons. Maybe you guys are just such avid fans that you remember all of this information. But yes, excellent. Ricardo, Mr. Tomorrow. Let's see. Gustav, Lolly, perfect. Angela. Just try to give some more shout outs. Flybor. The answer is the Iko from Japan. Excellent. The answer is infer. So let me show you what they mean and try to explain it a little bit. So I'll just read the sentences. Based on the latest statistics, we can infer that the new policy is working. So to imply is to express something in an indirect way. To infer is you're forming an opinion based on evidence or fact. They're very two different meanings. Let me give you an example for imply. So I don't know if you saw the lesson I did a couple of weeks ago about innuendos. And I talked about some sexual innuendos that people will say things and they are implying or suggesting something else in an indirect way. I gave you an example like at work, and I say, well, Kim and Steve are spending a lot of time together. They're spending a lot of time together outside of the office, all right? When you say that, I'm implying that maybe they're having some type of relationship, that maybe they're romantically involved. I'm implying that indirectly. To infer is like you're making an inference. You see something and it's like, oh, you can decide something else. Like if somebody walks in your room and they're just wet, then you could infer what the weather is like. You could infer that, well, it's probably raining outside, which is why this person is wet. So again, two different meanings. In this case, you're looking at these statistics and like, oh, okay, because of the statistics, we can form the opinion that the policy is working. All right, so let's look at the next one. Again, if you guys happen to be joining us, we're talking about the difference between some commonly confused words or some confusing words in English. We have the difference between fun and funny. I think maybe this one might be a little easier. In the past, I also did another lesson. Maybe I'll include some of those down in the description if you guys would like to review and check out some of these other video lessons where I talk about them with more examples in greater detail. So fun and funny. We had a really time at the comedy show. We laughed for hours. All right. Which one? And I tried to trick you with this sentence. All right. We had a really time at the comedy show. We laughed for hours. All right. So I'm trying to trick you with that second part of the sentence. Let me just give some shout outs to those of you with the correct answer. Yes, Sid, Diana, Lolly, excellent. Suhana, Angela, Anawat, Lavinia wait, no, that was funny. The correct answer is fun, all right? And I'll tell you why in just a moment. Louise, Limey, okay. Maria Teresa, excellent, good job. The correct answer, I told you, is fun. We're talking about a fun time. So if you overwhelmingly, If you're talking about some time period and you want to describe it, you say, oh, we had a fun time at the concert. We had a fun time at the party. I hope you guys are having a fun time in this class right now, learning this vocabulary. So fun refers to enjoyment. You're having a good time. The reason why I tried to maybe trick you is because we're talking about a comedy show where you're watching some comedian and you're laughing. So funny is an adjective that really refers to either a situation, like I said, and it was a funny situation, and you're describing it, or you could describe a person and say, well, this person is funny. So if you're talking about a time in general, that's not really, you're not going to describe that using the word funny and say, oh, it was a funny time. You would just say that something is funny, and that's it. So most of the time, you're going to use it as a predicate adjective, if I want to be very specific, and it's going to follow the verb to be, and you'd say a situation is funny, or maybe a person is funny. I like to think I am funny, but, well, I have my moments, not always. So in that case, we're talking about time. You would describe the time that you had as fun. We had a fun time, and that would be the adjective. That would be the correct answer. All right. So let's look at the next one. Thank you, Maria Teresa. Thank you. I really appreciate that. An excellent teaser. Yashar, wait, I said your name at the very beginning, I think. In one of the, like during the hellos. I'll try to get as many as I can. Dorcas, yes, excellent. Fun is the correct answer. Let's see. This one is more difficult. I will explain it, and I think probably you'll be able to guess the answer, but these are phrasal verbs, and trying to think, well, what's the difference between burn up and burn down? Okay, so the sentence that I gave you is talking about, well, I had a collection of old books. Sadly, many of them in the fire. Okay, which of those phrasal verbs would you use to complete this sentence? And there's only one correct answer. So are you going to use burn up or burn down? If you wanted to really get technical, because I know you guys are just typing this quickly in the chat, this would be, remember, I had a collection. We're talking about the past. So something happened in the past. So if we want to get really technical, you would be using burn. It's a regular verb, burn in the past. Burned up or burned down? Which one do you think you're going to use? I talked about this in a previous lesson. I had a collection of old books. Sadly, many of them in the fire. Excellent. Gustav, perfect. Let's give some shout outs. Venny, nice. Lewis, who else do we have? Benny, good job. Mr. Tomorrow, excellent. Lolly, sorry. The correct answer is burn up. And I'll explain why. So both burn up and burn down, something is being destroyed by fire, and it's destroying something. The difference, I would say, is that if something burns down, it's talking about a larger structure. So I think of like a house or a bridge or some building, some larger structure that is destroyed by the fire, and it would like burn to the ground, and it would burn down and possibly collapse. If something burns up, it's also destroyed by the fire, but I would say that it's like something is really consumed by it. Something maybe like a smaller object. So in this case, if there was a house fire and a home was on fire, the things in the home itself would burn down, but the things inside the home might burn up. Like if you have a book, books are made of paper, they would burn up in the fire. Another situation in which you may hear burn up, think about asteroids entering the Earth's atmosphere. They never make it into the Earth. They burn up in the atmosphere is another example of when you might say something burns up. So I hope that makes sense between burn up, burn down. Burn down, think of like a larger structure, like a building, a home, a bridge, and like, oh, it burned down, fell to the ground. Burn up, just something like items that you might have. So in this case, we're talking about the home was on fire, the books were inside there, they burned up. I know I'm talking about this a lot right now, so let's just move on to the next one. All right, it's okay. We got more. There's more left. More questions for you. Here is the next set of confusing words. The difference between persuade and convince. Again, they're very similar. In some instances, you could even say they're interchangeable. But there is a slight difference between these two, especially when you think about, well, when, in what situation are you going to use them? So think about this situation right here. Try to put a picture in your mind about, well, what is happening? The lawyer was able to the jury that the defendant was not guilty. So we're talking about a situation that is in a courtroom. You have a lawyer, you have a defendant, there's a jury who's going to make a decision, and the lawyer was able to the jury that the defendant was not guilty. I told you, I'm trying to think in this case, I guess you could use them interchangeably. Again, I will tell you why I'm going to give you the answer that I am, because yes, there can be a slight difference. So yes, excellent. Let me just show you guys. It's moving really fast right now through the chat. The correct answer is convince, okay? So the reason for that, because I saw some people put persuade, and if you said persuade, I wouldn't say like, oh no, like it's not like if you had mentioned this to me in a conversation, I would not stop and think, that was the wrong word. Persuade is like you're to cause someone to do something by reason or an argument. So you're giving them your opinion, you're giving them an argument, and you want them to do something, perhaps take some action. Convince is more about you want someone to believe something. You want them to believe something is true. So in this case, the lawyer was able to convince the jury, convince these people to believe the defendant was not guilty. So you're talking about that the jury now believes that this is true. They believe the defendant is not guilty. Think about it another way. If I wanted to use persuade and you're trying to get someone to do something, then I might think you could say the lawyer was able to persuade the jury to persuade the jury to vote not guilty. So in that case, it's like you're trying to get them to take some action, like their vote. In which case, maybe you would then, in that case, use persuade. So again, it's a very slight difference. Persuade, it makes me think, you're trying to get somebody to do something, take some sort of action. Convince is more so just believing something is true. So let's look at the next one. Again, that's a little more difficult because the meaning, persuade and convince, often people might use them interchangeably as synonyms. These two words are certainly different. Well, they're slightly different, I'll say that. This is more, it's not just vocabulary, but also more of a grammar question, trying to think about the difference, making sure you know the difference between less and fewer. So my sentence that I want you guys to complete, there were people on the metro today than there were yesterday. Which one are you going to use to complete this sentence? Are you going to use less or fewer? And I think you guys are mostly overwhelmingly getting this correct. Excellent. Just some shout outs. Yes. Good job. Jari, Gahab, Yasher, Angela Takaya, Lolly, excellent. You got that one correct. The correct answer is fewer. Okay. And this is where I think in spoken English, people will make this mistake, I think, quite often, and they will confuse these, especially when we're talking about an irregular plural noun, which is what I used, trying to confuse you a little bit. But we use less. I told you it was more of a grammar question. We use less. It means not as much for non-count nouns. So we use less for non-count nouns like less water, or less, milk. We use fewer for count nouns. So people, it is a count noun. It is an irregular plural noun. But in that case, you would use fewer. There were fewer people on the metro today than there were yesterday. But I would say that just in spoken English, people, whether they're learners or even native speakers, they will confuse them, and they may say, yeah, there were less people on the metro today than there were yesterday. To be quite honest, I do this too. I will confuse these from time to time, and sometimes I'll catch myself too, and I'll use less. And most of the time when people make a mistake, they're using less instead of fewer. And that's when people often make the mistake. I've done it too, and I'll catch myself and I'll realize, I said less when I should have used fewer. But just good. It's good to be aware of. The next question, or the next set of words that I have for you, the difference between reserve and book. These are both verbs. To reserve something, or to book something. And I want you guys to think about, well, what is the difference between these two? It's very subtle. It's very slight. But in the example that I gave you, we should go ahead and a hotel room for this weekend. Okay, what do you think would best complete that sentence? We should go ahead and a hotel room for this weekend. Excellent. All right, give some quick shout outs here. Yes, Mete, Tom Zhang, nice. Curiosidades, Sarah, Daniel, Adris, Bangun, trying to give some new shout outs, say some new names. I apologize if I haven't been able to say your name today. Gustav, excellent. Book is what I would use. And the slight difference, I'd say, to reserve something is you're keeping something, you're saving it for a particular purpose. Booking, you're doing the same thing, but when you book something, you're going ahead and paying for it. Reserving, you may not be paying for it. So in this case, we're talking about a hotel room. You need to pay for a hotel room in order to keep it for yourself. So you would book a hotel room. Some people, again, they may be used interchangeably. You may hear like, oh, we need to reserve a hotel room. I think of reserve more often would be used with talking about like a table at a restaurant. And you're going to a restaurant, you want to make sure that you have a table because you're with a group of people, and you would reserve a table. You're not going to use book because it's not something you're going to pay for if you're talking about a restaurant. So you would reserve a table at a restaurant, but you would book a hotel room, you would book a flight because you have to pay for your flight. So there is a difference between these two, reserve and book. And I hope that explanation made sense. Then we have these two words, which I also very similar. Say versus tell. Again, this is another set of words that I did a lesson on a while back, and I will go back through and try to throw those down in the description in case you'd like to watch more video lessons, which I hope you like to do. So I'm going to you a secret. Please do not anything to anyone. And if you're not sure exactly why you should use which one, just do which one feels right. Just your feeling as to what do you think? Okay, I feel this is the way, that this is the correct answer. And in this case, I want you, I'm having you use both of them. I'm going to you a secret. Please do not anything to anyone. All right, excellent. A lot of answers to this one. Perfect. So you're using both of them, but you're going to use the first one, tell, and then you're going to use say. So all of you who wrote tell, say, that is the correct answer. I'm going to tell you a secret. Please do not say anything to anyone. That is the correct answer. So think about it this way. You say something to someone. All right. You say something to someone and you would tell someone something. So in this case, it fits right in there. The way that I had this sentence, I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to tell someone something, tell you a secret. Please do not say anything to anyone. To say something to someone, say anything to anyone. All right, so that is the difference between those two. I think you guys overwhelmingly got that one correct. Great job. I hope that, again, this is just good practice for you, not only to build your vocabulary, but to understand some of the slight differences between these words, which is just going to help you improve your overall English fluency. I want to thank you guys. So many great members, saw members today. Dorcas, Valerie, Gustav, Takael, Lali. Always great to see so many members participating in these lessons. If you guys want to show us a little bit of love, support our channel, there are links down in the description below for YouTube membership, joining me on Patreon. I really appreciate it. Really kind of helps keep all of this going and the engine running. I hope, again, that you guys learned maybe some new words, or if they weren't new words, that you were able to understand the difference between some of those words, because, again, they are commonly confused. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Give a few more quick shout outs. Olivia, Roxana, to the members and patrons here, Takayo, Maria Teresa, Lali, Dorcas, Valerie. Thank you guys. Gustav, Suhana, Hugs for Drugs. Thank you for being here. Limey. All right, I am going to have to end it there. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. And of course, I will be back for another live lesson in the near